Now we'll look at the book Time Patterns in Big History, Cycles, Fractals, Waves, Transitions, and Singularities. I'm Dave LePoire. The guide to this book is that we'll start small, looking at fractal behavior of rest of each individual, going from one day to the lifetime. Then we'll look at the nature of periodic cycles in nations. We'll look at various global trends in there as new waves of technologies come. Then we'll take a look at various historical transitions with metaphors and analogies. And then we'll extend that a little bit further out, actually quite a bit further out, with life and cosmic evolution. Then we'll switch gears a little bit. We'll look at complex adaptive systems as one way to integrate this. Then we'll look a little bit into the future, looking at a sustainability metaphor, and then more speculation on potential future paths of how this might continue. So we start with individual fractal patterns. As mentioned before, this is looking at the rest or restoration of an individual from 8 hours sleep in a day, going to a week, kind of a season, a year, midlife change, life and generation. And you can kind of see the visual for this is a set of circles, fractal, that each circle has 7 circles inside it. And this shows for 3 different generations. And so, you sleep every day, that would be kind of the smallest circle. A larger circle than that would be a week. A larger circle than that would be kind of the 7 weeks or seasonal. Then it kind of continues. Next, we have some national dynamics. This one is looking at the U.S. At 3 different time scales. The very top time scale is the presidential elections from 1945 to 2017. And actually, this pattern was about 4 years of one party, followed by 4 years of another party. There used to be just one exception, that is 1977 to 1981, and we're experiencing another exception right now. And then the second line is kind of the longer period between great presidents, George Washington, Abraham Lincoln, Franklin Roosevelt, and I don't think we've actually come to the one that should be coming around this time. And then going back a little bit, going to the foundation of the Pilgrims in Jamestown. And then how that fits into an overall Western civilization, looking at the modern era with that set. And then before that, 3 other periods, the low and high Middle Ages, followed by the Renaissance and Reformation. Then besides U.S. and Western, we look at, then we extend the national dynamics a little bit further outside the U.S. and Western Europe. That's shown kind of in the middle there. And on the right-hand side, we have dynasties of China, and on the left-hand side, we have kind of dynasties or governments in Russia. And we take a look at that, and it looks like there's not a cycle of the dynasties, but every pair of the dynasties or sets of government actually form very similar types of time frames to Western Europe. Then we look at more global patterns. These are technology waves, waves of energy, and also ideas. For example, in science, the top right shows the waves of primary energy source on a fractional basis on a logistic scale. It shows a replacement of one energy versus the other. And another one is the development of physics by a discipline. So the first circle is kind of Newton, followed by very quick developments, 1920s, 30s, and 40s, followed by kind of some more slowing down. So it might be following a logistic pattern itself. And then finally, we look at the sequence of capitalistic countries, kind of starting with the Netherlands, going to England, UK actually twice, and then the USA. And it kind of doubles as the population doubles kind of at the transition time. Now we can look at in history through civilization stages. There's simple analogies that were made for 6 of the transitions. from agricultural to the current one to sustainability, hopefully. And so there's an analogy, some parameters and characteristics, and this was written up in the Journal of Big History. So this shows the larger evolution, integrated evolution over life, human development, and then civilization. Each one of those time periods either starts at 5 billion, 5 million, or about 5,000 years ago, just roughly. So there's a geometric time compression of about 1,000 in there. And there's actually, looks like 6 different substages within each one, also geometrically progressing here with about a factor of 3 in the compression of the time. So one way to look at the current transition, kind of projecting a little bit into the future, is making an analogy between our movement towards another sustainable society. I call it the advanced sustainable society. After we left agrarian society with an industrial revolution, and we used fossil fuels kind of to fuel that, and to get back to another advanced sustainable society, we'll have to transition to something more sustainable. And so we had a finite amount of fuel to kind of get through this transition, but hopefully we'll find another stable state. This is kind of like a rocket launching, where it's stable on the ground, and it's stable once it gets into orbit, and it only has a finite amount of fuel to get there. But a lot of things can happen on the way, and so we can make that analogy and try to miss all those pitfalls and failures. So this is a little bit more abstract way of looking at it, and it kind of extending out a little bit further, is that you could kind of look at it, the 3 kind of waves of evolution on Earth, kind of the life, mind, or human evolution, civilization evolution, and we're experiencing a very rapid change right now. And before that, there was only a factor of 3. Of course, it was the most time, about 8 billion years. But that really was a slowing down from the original Big Bang to the formation of the Earth, and then things sped up, and we're kind of maybe right where this inflection is, not a normal inflection, an exponential type of inflection, and maybe one continuation of this is the second part of that curve. So I hope you liked the brief introduction of what's in this book. We looked at individual fractal pattern from 1 day to 70 years based on rest or renewal. We looked at technology waves, the national dynamics, then civilization stages in history going back. Then one way of looking at integrated evolution leading to, looks like a singularity trend, but actually it's probably just an inflection. And then we had an extension further out to possible abstract cone, where we kind of at the halfway point. So we made an analogy to the rocket launch there. Thank you very much.